Welcome everybody to Monday Mondays. Got your beautiful host Ferris, and Ben is not here. Ben's feeling a little bad. We took a trip to Mexico, and I told him not to drink the water, and the guy drank the water. But it's okay. You guys got got me here. So today, what are we talking about, Ben? We're talking about boosting income and lowering expenses in real estate. It's an important topic. I know a lot of people, are always wondering, right? What does value add mean? I think value add means a lot of different things. Really depends on the asset class. And, even for us, right? Historically, value add had been finding down units, bringing units online, right? Pushing that revenue because you brought units online and therefore increasing the value. And I would say now as a company, we've really transitioned a little bit away from that, right? For us, value add has become more so about really looking for loss to lease and operating the deal a little more tightly with some sort of, interior upgrade plan, right? So it's a little bit of both of those. And so, with that said, right, today we're gonna talk about just what are the things that we can do strategically to boost income, right? In addition to that same vein, what else can we do to lower expenses? Let's go. All right, so, for those, just a reminder, right, we do this every Monday, 3:30 Central. We do talk about all sorts of different things. If you have ideas, topics, questions, please do not hesitate to send them out to us. We're happy to talk to them. But really, creative strategies for boosting income, right? As mentioned, it really depends on the asset class, right? The first thing that I personally like to do is look at a deal and look at the spread and rubs. Rubs is the percentage of what it takes in terms of billing back water and some of the utilities, right? Just realize that there are different rules based on the different markets that you're in, right, around how much you're allowed to bill back, how much you're not allowed to bill back. But what we like to do really up front is look at the spread, right? Are we doing what we're supposed to? Or did we, is someone doing the math wrong, right? Are we missing out on it? Are we billing back 40% instead of 70%, right? That's a very easy thing to do that takes no CapEx. So you guys should definitely all look at that. Another thing that I like to do in terms of just, income, right, is interior upgrades. That is the most common way people do it, right? Upgrading units, making them better, upgrading amenities, making them better, right? And you're really trying to pull tenants to your property and make them have, let them have a great experience, right? You're looking at ways to make it better for them, right? And because you did that, you get rewarded for that. You can boost your rents, you can boost your income, right? So I think that's another huge one. I think that's the most common one. And realize, folks, things like roofs, that's not gonna get you any sort of income, right? But things like adding a playground can, right? If you're a family, you're looking to rent, and you have two properties, one that has a playground, one that doesn't have a playground. Guess which one is a little bit more attractive? The one with the playground, right? And so just kind of think through the CapEx things that you're doing, right? And it's a little bit of a balance between, basically between the two different things, right? And how much you're spending on a deal versus things that you have to do that aren't going to bring you back capital. Roofs is the perfect example. In addition to that, right, what other things can you do? Things that we've done, adding technology packages, and really any other package you can think of, right? We've added We've added technology packages to properties, right, where people will pay $50 more a month to get a Wi-Fi thermostat and get, a Wi-Fi door lock, right? Those are things that make sense on some asset classes versus others. Probably not on our C's, but we've done that on the A's. Additionally, you look at other things that you are providing that you should be billing back for. Really, the common example is the parcel lockers. We have those on many, many properties, and that's something that people will pay $5, $10 more a month, right? You just charge as a flat fee to everybody in the property, and they all get to use it, right? And for those that don't know what a package locker is, essentially, it's actually pretty slick. I wish they had it whenever I was in an apartment. But whenever you get a package, right, the package person drops it into the locker. You, as a tenant, get an email or a text telling you, hey, you have a package. You go to the locker and you put in your code, and it'll unlock that locker for you with the package, right? So that way you're not having to leave packages on your doors that can get stolen and become its own little problem. Another couple things that kind of come top of mind, right? We love to do covered parking where it makes sense, right? Our last deal's got a parking garage, no covered parking, doesn't make sense there. But on a lot of our, CB property, garden style properties, we do have that. So you spend $1,000, really actually you spend $1,500, $2,000 get a parking spot covered, and tenants will pay $30-$40 more a month for that. Your ROI on that, folks, is really high, right? You're getting that 25% ROI. Do the math. If you're charging $30 more a month times 10, that's times 12 months, that's $360 a year. And if it costs you $1,500, you're getting a good return, right? And a lot of times people look at it just as my ROI, but also think about what it does to your NOI, right? And then because what it does to your NOI, think about what it does to your valuation, right? Remember how cap rates are valued and how properties are valued. And so it's a super, super powerful way to kind of help push the income. Let's see, thinking through a little bit more, what other big things have we done to help boost income? There are other things like that you could do around having other companies that help put things in place to help you generate revenue, right? As mentioned, there's Wi-Fi programs and some other things that you can do where companies will come in, give you kind of a package system for Wi-Fi that you can then charge back to tenants and you make a little bit of profit. Right, valet trash is another one of those things. You charge for trash, but you bill back 8, but maybe it's costing you 5 per tenant per month. And so you're looking at all of these things, and they start to all really multiply. I think that's really the big ones that come to mind. And again, I don't have Ben here to bounce any ideas off of, so I'm just kind of spitballing. Let's see. So thinking through a little bit on the income side, right? What can we do on the income side? The expense side. Expenses, right? This is really what I like to tell people is you can spend your time focused on expenses or you can spend your time focused on income. And the problem is expenses becomes diminishing returns, right? Yes, there are some fat that you can trim away pretty quickly, but you start to spend a lot of time to save a little expenses, whereas you can spend a lot less time on the income side and really boost it. And so think, folks, where do you want to spend your time, right? There's a better options, usually the income side. And so we focus a lot more on income while also trimming away just obvious expenses. And we do measure expenses kind of per property, per portfolio, just to really make sure we're not missing anything. But things on the expense side that you could do, right? Utilities is a big one. Right, a lot of times on some of these properties, we look at how much is the water, how much is electrical, and if it's kind of high, we'll spend some money and effort to go in and replace the lighting with an efficiency lighting, replace toilets with efficient toilets, right? And sometimes with the lenders, you can get paid for that, right? The Fannie Freddie used to have a green program. That green program would allow you to basically get a lower interest rate in return for upgrading the property, right? Making utilities better. And so that helps both your expenses as well as just helps the world, right? Much energy efficient. You're spending less on wasted electrical or wasted water. Another set of things that kind of help push things along as well on the expense side is really looking through just, where is money and effort going, right? There are rules of thumb for all expenses per market. There's a company, and I do not remember who publishes them, but I think it's IREM, but you can find pricing guidance on what payroll should be, what R&M should be, what utilities should be, right? And again, those vary by property, but we like to compare to those just to have a very high level rule of thumb, and then we dig in. Another expense thing that I tell people is have someone on your property management company that is focused on expense trimming with utilities. Utilities is such a big part of the business that no one really spends the time once a year and says, hey, are we getting the best electrical rate? Are we locked into something that's paying 20 cents, a kilowatt hour versus 12, right? Those are some things that can really move the needle on the expense side without really taking a lot of effort. I'm trying to think of any other big expense items that come to mind, and really not a lot, right? Maybe one more thing I'll add is marketing, and just make sure you're getting your bang for the buck on marketing. We measure that very, very thoroughly. The one thing I always hated with some of these management companies when we did third party is they will tell you they spent money on marketing, but you ask them how many leads did we get for each of those categories, they cannot answer that question. So me as an operator, as an owner, I don't know if I'm getting value for my money. And so I think that's another big one that people really waste a lot of money on expense side and don't really think through. And then, I guess kind of that leads to the next question, right? Tips for working with your property management company to implement your business plan, right? It's about spending the time and effort to explain it, get them bought in. It's like managing property management companies like managing an employee, right? You want to spend the time and effort to get them bought into the vision, right? Let them kind of dictate how to help you get to those steps, and then you measure and track that, right? And so with these management companies, make sure they understand the plan, and everybody, not just the regional, but the on-site staff to me is more important than the regional most of the time, right? In terms of understanding the plan. Then, let them know what's expected in terms of their part and your part, and then start to track and measure that, right? And I think that's where people really miss the dot. They do not track and measure that. We, as a management company with both first and third party clients, we have everybody on Asana. That is what we use to track tasks. And if someone slips and slips and slips for 5 weeks in a row, we can easily see it. It says the date's moving, right? You know who's performing and who's not, and then you can make a change or address the issue if you need to, right? And so I think, with that said, that's really I think the biggest items that me personally come top of mind for income and expense. And if anyone has any comments, questions, please go ahead and leave them, right? I'm happy to kind of go through them live, right? We do this, Mondays, do this every Monday, 3:30 Central. And again, it's really meant to be an open dialogue for people, right? And so kind of going through the questions, I know we got a few. One question that came in is it harder to boost income or reduce expenses in multifamily? I think that, I mentioned this earlier. Basically, it's a lot easier to focus on income than it is to focus on expense, right? Expense is diminishing returns, folks. Realize that. It's much better to spend your time and effort on the income side versus spend that same time and effort on the expense side, right? You should always do a cursory review of the expenses, but I wouldn't dwell on it because that becomes something that you can't control and, it just becomes not very valuable to do. Next question that we received is in regards to interior renovations, what have you seen give the most rent pops? I love my flooring, I love my backsplashes, I love my countertops. Those three things will really go really, really far, right? It's the first thing people see. They open up an apartment. What do they want? First thing they look at, the kitchen and the flooring. And so those things typically you start to get some real value, right? Then it starts to become a little bit diminishing between do I go with granite, do I go with quartz, right? There's some pros and cons to both of those, and do you really get the increase or not, right? Kitchen cabinets on older properties can really do a lot. The problem is they're expensive. So one thing we do a lot is actually just replacing the front doors of the cabinets. It's much more cost effective. You get a lot more bang for the buck in terms of aesthetics and quality, right? And so that's another big one that I think people do. I'm trying to think of any other, and paint, I guess I kind of skipped over. Paint is a huge one, right? Like we literally just got our office repainted and it's night and day on the look and feel because of that. And so I think paint's another big one that can make a big difference for people. Next up, any low-hanging fruit ideas that'll help you increase your NOI? What I like to tell people, it's buy property, right? Like I mentioned earlier, one low-hanging fruit is really looking at the spread of rubs. Look at your total utilities, look at how much you're billing back, and do you get to the percentage that you're allowed to do in your respective territory or city, right? That's the big one. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It's really like a 15, 20-minute exercise to kind of dig into that, and you can see, okay, I should be billing back more. As mentioned, other things that we like to do is carports. We like to do, amenities, right? Some amenities, like I said, the parcel lockers can be billed back, valet trash can be billed back. And interior upgrades, right? That's really the other big one that I think most people spend money on. I'm trying to think, what else do we do to get better NOI? Those are the main ones, right? Again, there's some expense control, there's income control, and so it's really managing those two. Let's see, any more questions? If anyone has any more questions, go ahead and leave them. Otherwise, we can continue. So coming up, right, first of all, we do have two big things going on this week. One of which is coming up this Wednesday. Dugan is presenting on, Dugan Kelly, he's our SEC attorney that we use. He's talking about creating real estate syndications the legal way. If you're raising money, it's really important to understand how to do it correctly, right? The SEC provides the guidelines and rules that we have to abide by. And Dugan will kind of walk you through what you can do and what you can't do, right? And how do you avoid some of the pitfalls that we do see people do. So check that out. It's this Wednesday coming up, 7:30 Central. If you're interested, go to disruptequity.com/virtual meetup and you can register there. The other big thing we do have is our conference coming up this weekend. We sold out last week, so we're super excited. 500 people here in Houston. Actually, it's going to be more like 600 people all in, right? mfinvestornetwork.com. We are sold out, but if you're interested, go check out the wait list. It's exciting. It should be awesome. We have a lot of cool speakers, so definitely looking forward to that. And so I guess with that said, what's coming up next week, Ben? Nothing? Next week, we're talking about multifamily real estate investing open Q&A. And so we'll talk about anything people want to talk about. Bring your questions, bring your ideas. We love talking, spitballing ideas, and sharing what we think. So definitely come check it out. Next Monday, we do Money Mondays. We do this every Monday, 3:30 Central. So with that said, we will call it a wrap. Thank you.